this on record. I'm recording this session so that I can share it with students that can't join today or the second one that I'm going to be doing next month. So here we go. All right, I'll start by sharing my screen and let me start here. Okay, so the common application, I think you all have heard or I've shared with you, this is accepted by over 900 universities and colleges across the US. And they, the goal with it is to, kind of get the core part, the application, the same. And then universities might tack on additional essays or something along those lines. But by completing the application and the main essay that goes with that, you get a lot of the application process taken care of. The reason I start the common application early is because it is one of the only application that rolls over. So even though we're still technically in the admission year of your friends, seniors, your year will effectively start August 1st. What the Common App allows, it allows you to create an account, enter in your schools, input all sorts of your core information. And then on August 1st, it will roll over to be your application year. And all of the data that we've already entered rolls over with it. So we save some time, and that gives us more time to work on, essays and the next thing, right? Because then the UC's application also opens on August 1. Okay, so if you can choose to join in with your video or not, it's not necessary. But what I want to have you do is open up a new browser. Sorry, my dogs are very excited to go on a walk. And go ahead and type in, please, commonapp.org. So we all want to start at this homepage. And let's see, I still have you on mute, so I can ask you to unmute. And then if you have any problems, you can go ahead and unmute if it will let you. Just let me know. Is it letting you guys unmute?
Yeah, it is.
Can everybody hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay, thanks, Julia. Ava and Jonathan, would you mind joining us with video, just so I can kind of keep an eye on whether this is making sense. Good morning.
Morning.
And make sure everybody's up to along with me. Good morning, Ava. Okay, so from here, obviously it's going to be super simple for quite a few steps. You want to create an account, and you all are first year students. So go ahead and click on there. I've already created an account, so we'll just pretend that I'm doing it. So what the email I would like you to use is the one that you've created for all of your college communications, or the one that you and I are using for the custom college plan account and all of that. So that's the one you want to put in here, and then it will ask you to retype it. Now the password, this is like the hardest one of all the things that you'll do for college apps, because it has all of those sections. So you have to keep typing your password until you find the combination that lights everything up green. And sometimes that seems to give people a bit of a hiccup. So just maybe give me a thumbs up, or let me know when you've all got your passwords going. Okay, is everybody good with their password? Okay, so before we move on, I actually would like you to add it to your keychain. So if you could take a moment and open up your custom college plan. Sorry, Jonathan, I'm picking on you there. Let me put me up. So yeah, if you could just go over and open up your custom college plan. And remember, we have to go back to the legacy version. So that's where the keychain is. So it opens up to, the new version, but for whatever wild reason, they don't have the keychain on there, which is what we like the most. So, so let's go ahead and edit the keychain, and then, oh, I can't do it because it knows I'm trying to be a student. So anyways, you guys, I think we've all done this. So go ahead and just add a new key, put in, common application. The website is commonapp.org, and then your username is your email, and then your new password, and save that. Okay, so again, if you could show me by a thumbs up or an okay sign that you've got it.
So where are we going?
Everybody good?
Where are we going on the college thing? Like when we get to the front page, where are we going again?
Okay, so I'm going to assume you've got that. Let's go back and finish this. So go ahead and put in your full name. So if you go by an abbreviation, a nickname, that's not what you put in here. You want to put in your, your given name, your legal name, whatever on your birth certificate, and then your last name. And then go ahead for phone and put in your mobile number. And this is the beginning of you learning what a country code is. So because people from all over the world apply, we have to put in the country code. The United States, I guess we came up with this system, I'm not sure, but we're #1, so yay for us. You just, yeah, you have to include that. And that you'll see that repeated throughout the common application. And then your date of birth, just go ahead and click on the calendar icon, and that will make it a bit easier. It brings up the year, 2003. So, click on whatever your birth year, date, and month is, and then it fills it out nicely for you. Okay, address, pretty straightforward. This is your home address, of course. You want to go ahead and type that in. And it might even come up. I think mine comes up because I've done the Common App I have a counselor account. Both of my daughters have an account, so it knows us. Okay, so once you have your address in, then you want to we're going to finish this section. You are not part of the European Union, so you click on no. And then as far as which best describes you, go ahead and say that you are planning to start college in 2022. Then it has pre-checked a couple of boxes that basically say, well, yes, of course you can share my information with the colleges that I'm applying to. Otherwise, it would be relatively pointless in what we're doing. So you just need to add the last check, which says, I agree to your terms and conditions, Common App, and so on and so forth. So if you really want to read them, you can come back and click on these links and do so. And then go ahead and hit create account. And okay, so I've had okay, one of my students has just joined. So when she gets going, come on, Satara. Okay, well, after you've created the account, then it's going to take you to this welcome page. Does everybody have that going? Yeah? Okay, awesome. So the first thing we're going to do is we're actually going to do a college search, because we want to have a couple of colleges sort of in our, it'll be easier to understand some of the questions as we have a few colleges. Good morning, Satara. Satara, let me get my other students going with this college portion, and then I'll walk you through how to create an account real quick. So you'll be up to speed. Is everybody still unable to mute? Can you unmute?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jonathan, okay, you were there for a second, Julia.
Yeah.
Okay, Julia's unmuted. Jonathan, you can unmute again if you want. And then okay, whichever. I won't belabor it. So this is a super simple search engine. If you can't remember what colleges are on your list that take the Common App, just jump back over to your custom college plan and hit colleges. And everything with the little CA, that stands for Common App. So those are the schools that you're going to want to add right now. So I will show you, how to do that real quickly. You can type in the school name, you can type in the city where it's located, but usually the school name gets you exactly what you want. So in this case, it was Chapman University, and all I have to do is click the plus sign. And that college and all of its requirements have been added to my application. So the way I double check that is I go to my colleges, and I see the list that, of the schools that I've added. I can also see it via my dashboard. So if you guys, I think Julia and Ava and Jonathan, if you guys could add a couple of the colleges that take the Common App, add those to your accounts, then I'm going to go ahead and walk Satara through how to create an account, and then we'll all be on the same page. Okay, so if you guys want to mute me while I walk Satara through it, then that might be better. Okay, Miss Satara, can you put come off video or can you turn your video on so I can thank you? Good morning. So you, my friend, if you can go to commonapp.org, and we're going to create an account. Okay. So just do a thumbs up so I know you're there. Okay, or nod, that works too. So go ahead, click create an account, first year student, and then we're going to fill in all of this information. Okay. So for your email address, go ahead and use the one that we're using with Custom College Plan. Okay, the one we created just for college applications. And then you retype it. And then you have to create a password that fulfills all of those criteria. So until everything turns green, you're not there yet. So let me know when you have your password ready to go. All good? Okay. So then you just retype it. Then go ahead and put your given name. So Satara, that's your whatever on your birth certificate, your last name. And then for phone, go ahead and put in the phone, the number that you want to be communicated with. So I know your mobile phone's not working right now, so you can put in your landline or whatever. And then you want to choose the country code, which is the United States. Okay, and then click on the calendar, choose the year, the month, and the day of your birth, and it will fill it in for you. Quickly add your address, okay, so that we get everything going on your application. And okay. And then continue. And then the last couple of boxes are no, you're not part of the European Union and you're planning to start college in 2022. And then the final box is going to be this guy. Just check it and hit create account. And then let me know when you've got your account created. You should get to a welcome Satara screen. Okay, perfect. So good. So now you've caught up. So now go ahead and click on college search. And let me take a quick look at what we're gonna do for that. For you, hold on one second, Satara. Okay, so we're gonna put in, let's do for you right now, let's do University of Oregon. Okay, so if you type that in, then all you have to do is hit the plus sign and it adds to your account. Thumbs up. If you're not there, go ahead and send me a chat or unmute yourself.
It gave me like the, oh, we're unable to do that.
Sorry. Did it work?
Let me try it again. It's told me they were unable to do that.
They were unable to add the University of Oregon. Yeah.
Okay, it's working now.
Okay. It's fine. Okay. Alrighty. So we are going to now, everybody's on the same page. So now let's go and do the Common App tab. And we're going to go through and answer as many of these fields as we can. And that is essentially what we're accomplishing today. So as we get through each section of the Common Application, you'll get a green check mark when you've answered all of the questions, all the fields that are required. The fields that have this little red asterisk, that means that it is a required field. So you got to put it in. Okay, so some of these will be filled out already. And middle name, you can choose to put it or not, completely up to you. So your first and last name are already in there. Suffix, that has to do with, this applies to young men. If they were named after their dad or their grandfather or whatever, you know, they have all those things after their name. Then have you ever used any other names? This is probably going to be no. Typically this refers to if you're married, right? Sometimes women change their last name to they take their husband's last name, or sometimes I've had students that have legally changed their name. So we have to put in, you know, both names so that when the colleges are cross-referencing, they can find you. You do have to tell them whether you are male or female. You have an opportunity to elaborate on that if you want to self-identify as something different. But right now it's pretty straightforward. Date of birth is already there. Then the continue button is basically your save key. So go ahead and hit continue. And then you'll see that it has your address already filled out for you. And I don't believe anybody has an alternate address, but they give you a couple examples. You know, some families like to use a post office box. You know, rarely well, actually, I've never had a student who's been at boarding school, but anyways, go ahead and click no alternate address and continue. And then here for preferred phone, go ahead and put your mobile number, and that should be what's populated there. And then I don't think there's no reason to have an alternate phone number. So go ahead and hit no other telephone and continue. And then if I'm going too quickly or something is not working for you, send me a chat, or if you can unmute yourself and ask me, that works too. Okay, so religious preference, you'll see there's no asterisk, so you can choose to answer it or not. Demographics information is strictly optional. And then you can, if you don't want to say anything, you can just say, yes, I've completed this to my satisfaction. But I'll just explain what each section is. I mean, this is self-explanatory. So there isn't, it's a little odd in what their selections are here. So often students can't find their particular, like, evangelical or something along those lines. If you can't find it, you can just say other Christian if you want to. And then you can fill that out or not. I don't think anybody's part of the armed services, so you just put none. And then you answer whether you're Hispanic or Latino. And then these are the very broadest categories of you know, nationality. So if any of those apply to you, then go ahead and click on that. And usually it will come up with, you know, so say if you hit Asian, right, you come up, you get all of these countries that then you can choose from, or you can say other, depending on the area. So from me, I can say that my ancestors are from Europe. Okay, then yes, you've completed it to your satisfaction, and continue. Everybody good? Yeah, this is super easy stuff. Okay, then you need to tell them where you were born, in what country. Fortunately, the United States is at the top. If you were born somewhere else, scroll down, find it. And then ideally, you know what city you were born in. If you don't, take a wild guess, or just put the city that you live in now. This will not be checked, and you can, you know, fix it later. It has nothing to do with your admissions. They're trying to determine if you are a US citizen, is essentially what they're doing. Okay, same thing. Tell them the state. There's a nice little drop down menu, easy breezy. And then this one is a little odd, and it will actually change when it rolls over, because you're going to be a year older when we actually, well, you may be, you may not be actually. So, but what you want to do is just pick the year that you are now. So if you're 17, go ahead and choose that. If you're 16, choose that. Because they're asking for the number of years that you've lived in the United States. I believe all of you were born here. So you should be good there. And then the number of years outside is 0, and continue. Okay, language. So the number of number of languages you are proficient in. This is this can needs a little bit of discussion, right? So clearly you are proficient in your native language. English. Sorry, if that is your native language. And then if there's another language that you're pretty familiar with, either from what's spoken in the home or from, the classes that you've been taking in high school, then, add it from there. So for example, if you've been taking, say you've been taking French in high school, you can go ahead and click on 2, and then you select the language that that you are familiar with. Then it's going to ask you, how proficient are you? And it's looking at these different areas. So, French is clearly not my first language, but if I've been taking it for 4 years or 3 years, I would say that I can speak it, at least rudimentary. I might be able to read a little bit, and then, I don't know, probably can't write too much, but you decide from there. If it's a different language, say, in my family, it would have been German, and that would have been the language that, we spoke at home, way back in the day when I was young. And then the second language, I would put English. I would put it as my first language and continue. If you doubt your ability to speak in even, in sort of a basic conversational ability, then don't put it down that you're proficient in it, right? You need to have some basic skills so that if you were to get an interview from one of these schools, they might ask you something in that language, and you would need to be able to know what the heck they're talking about. So tread lightly with that. Don't oversell yourself, because it's just not that important unless you're going into the foreign service or one of the languages. Okay, so citizenship, you are all US citizens, so you want to choose that. And then your Social Security. So I believe I asked you to have your Social Security number, and you would put it in now, but you'll see that there's no red asterisk. So it is optional. Not everybody has a Social Security number, but I believe you all do. And the reason that it's important to include is because this application will eventually be matched up at the university level with your FAFSA, your free application for federal student aid. And that is the first step that families take in order to be, to be determined whether you qualify for need-based financial aid, and everything along those lines. So if you've got it, I would recommend putting it in and then hitting continue. Okay, we're almost done with this section. None of you have a fee waiver, to my knowledge. Fee waivers are given to extremely low income families or students, so that it doesn't become a barrier for them to apply. Or if there's been a job loss or something along those lines, counselors at high schools have codes that they give to students to get their fees waived. So I don't know of any of you that have that, so go ahead and hit no and continue. Okay, so now we're going to get to your family area. Is everybody with me? Are we all on the family section? Yeah? Good? Okay, all right. Let's go ahead. So this, I think you know, right? Are your parents married, separated, divorced, all those things? Got a lot of options, but you want to choose the correct one. And then if your parents are married, then you would say that you make your permanent home is with both parents. Do you have any children? This is referring to yes, you. And the answer to that, thankfully, is no. Hard to do college with kids. Not impossible, but hard. Okay, so then for parent one, we're going to start filling in your parent information. So if it doesn't matter if parent one is your mom or parent one is your dad. So just pick whatever you prefer and then answer all these questions. So mom, is she living? And then does she have use any of these titles? And Mrs. or Ms. is kind of more of a professional term that women will use in the workplace, that sort of thing. Do they have a PhD or MD or something like that? And then you go ahead and you want to put in your mom's first name. You can skip middle initial. And then you put in, you actually put in her name, her last name that she uses now, right? So just going along with this, I would put in that my mom's last name was the same as mine. And then it's optional, but you could also put in, what was her maiden name? Totally optional. Don't even think twice about it if you don't know it. Suffix, that doesn't apply to mom. And then again, optional, but you would, you could choose the country where your mom was born. I don't encourage students to put mom or dad's email down. That just opens them up to get emails from the universities basically pushing them to convince you to accept their offer of admission. And that it's not necessary. So I would recommend skipping that and skipping the mobile phone or any phone number. You do have to tell them though that is mom's address the same as yours? Okay, so just click on that. And then they do want to know the occupation of mom. So these are really sort of strange, very limited options as far as career paths. So scroll down. If you cannot find what your mom does, maybe your mom stays at home full time and is, doing the chauffeuring and all the stuff that she does to, take care of the household. So that would be your option there, whatever it is. If you cannot find what your mom does, so say she's a teacher, but if she's not, go ahead and just click other and type in what her title is. So maybe, my mom worked at a bank. So I would just put something like bank manager. And then you say whether mom is currently unemployed, employed, retired, or self-employed. And this is so annoying, but they want all this information. So you just keep, guessing away unless you had that form filled out. Is everybody good so far? Got stuff in about your first parent? Okay, then they want to know if your parents, in this case your mom, went to a college or university, and then whether she graduated, because it makes a difference as to whether a student is a first generation college student or if their parents have their college degrees. Typically that is going to mean that your so much further ahead, if you will, in understanding the importance of college and sort of having an idea as to what you're looking for in a college. And, you've been having those conversations with your parents. First generation kids, I work with a lot of them, and it's kind of like, I have no idea, so I'm hiring somebody, because it is confusing. So anywho, go ahead and choose the appropriate response. Oh, sorry, this is employed, pardon me. We're going to get to the education level. So never employed, or maybe they work either as a professor at a university, or they, I don't know, whatever, they teach some sort of course, or maybe they're on staff working in, the admissions office or the financial aid office or the whatever. So pick appropriately. And then I'm going to say never, because I don't want to deal with that. Okay, so then you want to put where they work. I know all of this is really sort of annoyingly intrusive, and it's true. But the admissions officers are trying to understand who you are and sort of what your background is. So, I'll have anything from a self-employed, parents have started a business, to parents are managers or executives at a big company, a little company, whatever, or they, people can be founders of very large companies. So it just depends. They're trying to get a sense as to how much support do you have as a young person? How much backing do you have? Like if your parent is president of the United States, it's kind of lend a little bit different flavor to your application than, the 99.9% of the rest of the world that does not have the president of the United States. I don't even know if the Obama kids had to fill out an application. I don't know, but whatever. That's what the purpose of all of this is. Okay, so then you want to continue and tell them what the education level was. So if your parents did not go to college at all, they graduated, they got through high school and then they went on and, did what they did, you would actually choose this one. They graduated from high school, or it's called secondary school. That's the formal name of it. And then if they went to college, whether it was a 2-year community college or trade school, or a 4-year university, but they didn't graduate, they had to go get a job, couldn't afford it, whatever, life happened. They didn't finish, you pick this one. And finally, if they did graduate, then you choose that one. If you had a parent who went on to graduate school, which is the last choice, you choose that. And then they want to know where they went to school. So did they go to, Cal State Fullerton for their bachelor's and their master's and their PhD? Or did they go to maybe Cal State Long Beach for their bachelor's and then USC for their PhD? Whatever that information is. Did everybody get that lowdown from their folks? So you guys know what to put? General nodding of the heads. Okay, so so if it was graduate school, then you pick the number of institutions and then click find college, and usually it's a pretty easy search engine. If they went to some university like the University of UCLA, for example, or UC Irvine, you have to put in University of California so that the system then knows where to start looking. If you just type in, UC, it's not going to know what you're talking about. It'll probably take you to some in Australia. So then you want to scroll down and you're looking for, see how there's all these internet, I mean, there's all sorts of kind of wonky stuff. You want to get past that until you have just the plain old UC Berkeley, UC Davis, UC Irvine, UC LA, you know, so on and so forth. And then you choose the appropriate school and it fills it all in for you. Okay. If it was, say it was Cal State Long Beach, you have to do the same thing. You have to type it all out. California State University. The first one is not the right answer. That's some sort of education program. You got to scroll down and you got to keep looking for the ones that we know are familiar with, Fullerton or Long Beach, and continue, and then you'll see. If you don't have the information or it's not, you can't find it, just no stress, right? Just let it go. It's all good. You and I will work on it individually at a later point. So that's all fine. Okay, number of degrees. So again, if they got their bachelor's here, then you put 1 and you're going to choose bachelor's. So these are all the kinds of degrees you can earn in the United States, right? You can get an AA or an AS, that's from a community college. Bachelor's degree is from a 4-year university like Cal State Long Beach or USC or the ones that you're most familiar with. And you can earn a BA, a BS, and a couple of others. Master's degrees, those are the next step after a bachelor's, of course, and they usually take an additional 18 months to 2-3 years, depending on the program. MBAs, that's also after a bachelor's. Law school to earn a JD, that is also after a bachelor's. And then, of course, you guys know this, right? You can go and get your, you can be a medical doctor, a dentist, you can be a veterinarian, doctor of, I think that's ophthalmology for the eyes. And then doctorate is where you get your PhD or your doctorate in education. So choose whatever is appropriate for your parent. If you don't know the year, again, please don't stress. It is so not important for us to get that today, but that's the level of detail that honestly, some students will end up, you wait, next year, you'll have any number of friends, your fellow seniors will be freaking out because they haven't done any of this and all of a sudden it's deadlines. And I know you're like, come on, Mrs. Royal, pick up the pace, but all of this information has to be known and input, otherwise you won't have a completed application. So anyway, you will thank me later that we're doing this now. Okay, so keep looking at those colleges. I'm going to try to do really quick here so that we can then just move on. And okay, got 1 degree, and I'm probably just choosing very poorly at this point, but I want to try to go on. Okay, so then same thing with parent 2. So in this case, it's going to be dad, and you put in all of dad's information. Again, if it doesn't have a red asterisk, you can skip it. And let's get all that done. I'm just going to skip all this stuff because it's not required. They don't need to be contacted, but they do have the same address as my home address. And then, yeah, even if they're retired or deceased, you would indicate, what they did do. And then just keep filling that all out. Never employed at a university, if that's the case. So Tara, are you good with, you've got, your dad's stuff? Yeah, okay. All righty, we're getting there. Almost 2 sections completely done, and you won't have to come back to these, which is great. Okay, siblings. Let's see. We've got you're half and half. So for those of you that are only children, 0, continue, and either add more colleges or hang on until your friends catch up. So for the 2 of you that do have siblings, this is pretty straightforward. Choose the appropriate number, and then they want the first name and the last name of your sibling. The rest of it you can leave blank until you get down to the education level. If they are in kindergarten through 6th grade, you're going to put, pardon me, if they're kindergarten through 8th grade, then choose primary school. If they have completed 8th grade, but they've not yet started high school, you would say they've completed primary school. And then high school is what we call secondary, right? So, or if you're the youngest, you know, choose accordingly. Like if you've got someone, if your sibling is currently in college or just recently graduated, you know, you choose that. Once you choose that, then for siblings, it's optional as to whether you tell them what university your sibling attends or attended. I think it's beneficial if you're, for example, if you're applying to UCs and your sibling attends a UC or is recently graduated, that's great information because that can help you. So again, if you want to finish up this section, and then everybody can give me a thumbs up when they are done. All right, so Jonathan's good. Miss Ava, I can only see the top of your head, Missy. So let's see. All right, well, I'm gonna go change my answer because I want the green check mark. So I'm gonna become an only child. Okay, so I think Jonathan and Ava, you have green check marks, hopefully, yes? And then Julia and Satara, you guys good? Yeah, awesome. Okay, so that's gonna bring us to, now we're gonna put in all of your stuff about your education. Where have you gone to high school? And have you also done any community college classes? That's all, that stuff is going to start to be picked up here. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is find your high school. So go ahead and click on find your high school. And probably the hardest one of the group is Orange Lutheran. Well, they must have fixed it because there it is, came up nice and easy. So you just click on and then hit continue. Who else do we have? We have, oh, my mind, we have Huntington Beach. Well, let's see, Huntington Beach High School, so that's good. Who else do I have? I have Los Alamitos. Looks like you're right there. So, yep. And then, oh, Julia, I'm bad. Did you find yours, Julia? Okay, because I'm like, I'm totally spacing on that. Okay, so then it fills it out. So your date of entry. So when did you guys all start high school? I believe you all started the same time, which means, let's see, your senior year was 21 or will be 21, 22. So look at your, if you all have your transcript handy, look at 9th grade and look at the first year. I believe you guys are 20, you must be 2017 that you started ninth grade?
I put 18. I think it's 18.
Oh, 2018. So 2018, 2019, 19, 20, 2021. Yep. Good job, Jonathan. All right. So choose 2018. I'm guessing most of you started in August. That seems to be pretty common. And then nobody goes to a boarding school. So that's a no. And then will you graduate from this school? So I believe, let me think really quickly. You are all, you have all stayed at the same high school. So the answer will be yes. And your graduation date, take a wild guess. So, they're only asking for the month and the year. So you know that it's going to be 2022, right? That's when you're graduating. And then it's either going to be May or June. So, you know, again, it's not going to affect your admissions. So just choose appropriately. Okay, these questions, you do have to choose the right answer. So I'll just briefly tell you what they're asking. Some students do graduate early for they just crank out dual enrollment, or they crank out whatever they have to do. And instead of it being 4 years, they get done sooner. Doesn't happen very often, but if it did, you would click this. Some graduate late. Sometimes I work with students with learning disabilities, and it takes them a little bit longer to finish up. If you took any time off, sometimes students have significant health issues or whatever, and they might have taken some time off. If you believe that you will take a gap year after you graduate, you would click this. I don't believe we've not talked about that. So I would say this is not the place to declare that. Actually, what I prefer students do is not tell the university they're taking a gap year, go through the admissions process, then look at where you've been admitted and, choose your top choice school and ask them, I would like to take a gap year. And so I'd like to be deferred. And 9 times out of 10, they're going to approve it and they're happy to see you the following year. But let's not tell anyone about that quite yet. So no change in progression, hit continue. And then if you've attended another high school, there's all sorts of reasons why you would have another high school. You have to add it here and get that in. But I believe you're all continuous at your high school. Okay, so for those of you that have already taken a course at a community college, this is where you're going to put that in. For those of you that are planning to take a community college course this summer, you can go ahead and put the information in now. So it's pretty straightforward. You just click on, the one. You got to find the college. So let's say we're doing nice and easy, Orange Coast College. You choose it, and then you're going to choose one of the first two. So dual enrollment means that you're taking the class simultaneously during the school year when you're taking all of your high school courses. If that's not what you're doing, if you're taking it over the summer, which I believe several of you are, then you want to click on summer program. And then you tell them the dates, and those dates are going to be solidly 2021. You're going to start in June and you're going to finish in 2021, probably finish in August. And you're not earning any degree, of course, so you just leave that blank and then hit continue. Okay, graduating class size. Some of your transcripts will include your ranking like you're number 2 or number 1 out of all of your classmates. So there'll be 1 out of, 300. Maybe you're 150 out of 300. Some of you, your high school doesn't rank at all, so there will be no information. If you don't know the number, again, don't worry about it. We'll fill this in later, or you can simply guesstimate and, put in something like Orange Lutheran typically is running a 350 person, for each grade. But again, if you don't know it, don't sweat it. And then you want to, well, we can skip this class rank because I don't think all of your high schools rank. So we're going to skip. Actually, you know what? This is new. This is brand new. This used to all be required. So we can skip all of that, which is great. Because the reason it was required, it was sort of weird because you would complete it all here, but then in order to have a complete application, you have to have your official transcript sent to all of the universities that you're applying to. So it was redundant and kind of a pain, Students would often get this section wrong. So I'm glad that they've made it optional. So let's just skip it. Okay, everybody good? Moving right along, good. Okay, this current or most recent year. So this is one of the things that does not roll over. And what this is asking is the application's assuming that you're a senior and that these will be the senior courses that you are currently enrolled in, that you're enrolled in. And so that we will do, after August 1st when we roll it over. But, it's real simple. You tell them the number of classes and then that you're on a semester basis. And then you literally type in the course title directly from your transcript. And that's why the transcript is crucial. I will ask all of you to order one through your high school's website so that we can complete this accurately. Because, for example, some schools might have something like, or a student might just put in English. Well, that actually doesn't tell the admissions officer anything other than, okay, good, you have your 4th year of language arts. We're happy about that. But what you want to do is say exactly what is on the transcript, which may be something like AP. So maybe it's AP Lit. Some will spell out literature and others will not. And comp. So that's literally what it might look like. And always we want to exactly replicate what's on the transcript. The worst thing you can do, and the quickest way to shoot yourself in the foot, is to not have matching information on your application with your transcript. And because what that does, even if it's something small, say you don't put AP here, but that's what's on your transcript, but then you tell them down here that indeed it is an AP class. So, logic would say, okay, they're taking AP Lit and Comp, but they don't know that for sure because you need to put exactly what's on the transcript. So that's, it sounds nitpicky, but we don't want to ever leave any questions in the admissions officer's mind about your application. Because if they have a question, they're going to put your application in a pile that says, I got to get back. I'm going to get back to this. And then you've lost really your opportunity to go through, to have them look at your application all at once and get a really solid impression of who you are and what your academic capabilities are as well. So that's what that whole lecture is all about. And we are not going to put anything because, like I said, it won't roll over. Okay, next section, honors. This will roll over. So, this is where you would put things like, maybe you were on the high honor roll. Maybe your high school calls it the, I don't know, that's just the honor roll. They all have different names for it. Often it is right there on your transcript, printed out, and it will tell you what semesters you qualified for whatever award. And this section of the application is strictly academic awards. So you want to include anything that you earned, that you've already earned, right? The 11th, if you click that, that means first semester you were on the honor roll. And yeah, you basically put it in like that. And then you tell the admissions people what level of recognition that is. So in this case, of course, it's your school identifying you as an honor roll student. What I believe is also important is to include the criteria that is necessary to achieve honor roll, or whatever, again, your school's calling it. So for example, you would say honor roll, 3.2 unweighted GPA, comma, good citizenship, something like that. Whatever your schools, well, I spelled that terribly, terrible. Whatever your school's criteria is. If you don't know your school's criteria, again, don't sweat it. What we'll do when we go through this together is we'll go to your school's website and we'll look it up, because it's right there under academics, and you have to look it up, but it's all good stuff. Then you want to keep adding, if you have, of course, something else to add. Other common things are like National Honor Society. So you would put that, and that of course would be national. The California Scholarship Federation is also very, well, it's not very common, like not everybody gets it, but that's a frequent one that we see. Who did I lose? We lost Miss Ava. And then, yeah, so you would choose the grade level that you first got into that. It starts at 10th. And then anything else that you have that, again, is related to academics. So if you do sports, or, sometimes you'll get a coach's award that, like you're an athlete, you're a scholar athlete or something like that. So that is something you can put here. Whatever the case is, we want to be sure to get it in there, and then hit continue. Okay, so we're almost done with this section. Community-based organization. None of you are working with what we call a CBO. CBOs are basically people that do what I do, but they work with inner city or students that are impoverished, trying to help them get into college. And they get grants from companies and the federal government and things like that. But you guys put 0 and then continue. And then future plans. So you are not declaring your major here. This is not what this is all about. But it is important to give them an idea of sort of what category you're looking at, pursuing. So this has, this of course isn't majors. This is your career. So if you are looking to go into law at some point down the road, or you want to be a physician, or you want to be, let's see. If you don't see what you want to be there, then you just hit other and you can put something like hospitality, tourism, manager, whatever that we would call that. So you can type it in that way or just choose it. And then if you know what your highest degree that you need in order to, well, if you know you're going to be a lawyer, you need that. If you're going to be a doctor, you need that. You know, if you know, then choose it appropriately. If you don't know, you can hit undecided, or you can just say, you know what, I'm going to get my bachelor's and I'm good. I'm just going to stop there. Okay, we're moving right along. So now we're getting to the testing section. And some of you have taken the SAT. Some of you have taken the ACT and all of that, and you have some scores. But your year will continue to be a year where testing is optional. In California, the UCs just announced yesterday that they will again be test blind for your application year. So if you are planning to apply to the majority of UCs or Cal States, you don't have to give the tests another thought. If you are applying to other universities where it's test optional, you know, we're still talking about whether you need it or not, but for the most part, I'm saying, I'm thinking that you won't have to take it, which is great, right? It just takes a big load off of this whole process. But many of you, of course, are taking AP tests. So if that's the case, you want to go ahead and choose yes. And then you're going to tell them that you're taking AP subject tests. And that's it for there. Nobody's an international student, so we're going to continue. Then if you are indeed taking APs, you have to tell them how many you've taken, and then but also include plan to take. So this is a little tricky because this doesn't roll over cleanly. So at this point, go ahead and just choose the number that you're currently that you have taken and you're enrolled in. Like don't include senior year because it won't come up as an option. So you choose the right number, and then if indeed you're taking it this next month in May, they're always in May, so that's easy. At least in the United States, they're always in May. So you would just choose, you know, that. And then they want to know what subject you are taking it in. So maybe you're doing, I don't know, calculus AP, whatever the thing is. Now, clearly you don't know your score yet because you haven't taken it yet. So you would just hit continue. If you are putting in more than one AP and you're including, you know, last year's information, then you want to include your score as well. And again, this is stuff that we can always come back to and clean up, but that's the way the testing is done. Any questions with that? Is everybody good? Okay. All right. So we're getting down to the nitty gritty here, not too much longer, but now we're getting to some really challenging sections. That was the easy part. Now we're getting into activities. Activities is the area where you can clearly distinguish your application from the other ones that they're looking at. This is where you want to include all the extracurricular, all those extracurricular activities that you've been doing, you know, throughout high school. Sometimes you do something for a year or two, and then you decide it's not for you, or you want to shift gears or whatever. That's all fine, but we do want to capture it. It's also important to include things like hobbies and any kind of work or volunteering that you do that's outside of school, right? And really any other meaningful experiences. So some students have traveled, and we've put that kind of information because travel was a big part of who they are and what they've decided to pursue in the future. So it doesn't just have to be something that is a club or, you know, the band or a sport. It can be many other things. If you're not sure, then of course we'll talk about it when we do, you know, look at this one-on-one. But for now, what we're going to do is let's just do one together. The Common App is particularly challenging in how students have to talk about their activities because they give you so few, they don't give you a lot of space. They essentially give you these limits of 50 characters and then 100 characters and then another 150. And in that, you've got to include a lot of information. So we're going to kind of make one up. And again, this is something that we'll work on together. You can certainly take a swing at it on your own and sort of fill in the basics. And then, you know, we'll fine tune together. But let's say, for example, you were part of a team, an athletic team at school. So you choose that, and then you tell them what sport. So let's say you were, I don't even know. All right, Jonathan, can I use golf? Okay. You know what? No, I was sorry. I'm going to change one word. There's going to be some a little bit more leadership opportunities. So say it was basketball. Okay. So again, we will finalize and polish all of these entries before, of course, you submit, which means some students might be elected, you know, team captain over the summer. They don't know that yet, but if that changes, then that's the kind of stuff that we would for sure want to communicate in the application. But right now, say they are, well, we're just going to make somebody a co-captain. So it's not quite as awesome as just captain, but it's still pretty good. So say they were co-captain in 11th grade. That's when they were, you know, voted or, you know, made co-captain. And then prior to that, perhaps their responsibility for the team was, let's see, student, I'm going to say student coach. And that was for 9th and 10th. Maybe this student was so great at basketball and had been playing so long that their high school coach asked them to, you know, lead practices or, you know, drills or help, I don't know, whatever needs to get done. But whatever kind of position that you can share with the university, you know, you were in a leadership position, this is what you want to do. You want to put the name of the position, and then you want to include what high school year it applied to. So this 11 refers to your junior year, of course, 9, 10, freshman, sophomore year. Okay. And then you'll put the organization name. So if this was your school, right? So you would put, I forgot what school I said I was at, but say we were at Edison High School. And then I always have the student just put the full name down there. You've got 100 characters, put it down there. Now, this student was part of the, let's say this was, they're now on the varsity team. So we would add that as a name. Because now you're telling the admissions officer what level of player you are, and that's important, right? Okay, so then you would describe the activity. Well, most people know what what basketball is all about. So clearly that's not what we want to include, but we do want to include things like position. So maybe you were you've always been the forward, right? And that's 9, 10, 11, and you're going to be the forward senior year. So that's how you would tell the college, that's the position I play. We won our CIF championship. That's always a good one. Maybe you got to the finals. Maybe I don't know, maybe you didn't, but maybe your team won 8 out of 11 games or something, or maybe you were a brand new league. I have one student who's part of a sport that's brand new at his school. And so think of what needs to happen when a sport is brand new. There's a lot of opportunities for leadership and for growth and so on and so forth. So, those kinds of things can all be captured, and that is exceedingly meaningful to the admissions office. So we would say CIF championship that happened in 10th grade. And then, maybe you won Southern California, we'll say SoCal regional championships. You see how I'm making this really small? I'm trying to. Champions, and that was in 9th and 11th. So then, let's see, at some point, oh, that's not working. Why is there's a maximum character count, and so usually it stops you, but I don't know why it's not stopping me, which is weird. Okay, well, either way, it will stop you when you get to 150 characters. And so what we have to do in this section is a lot of abbreviations so that we get all the great stuff about you and about your participation, but it has to all fit. Maybe as part of this team, you went to some sort of, I don't know, special tournament in Las Vegas, or maybe it was in Texas, or maybe wherever it was. So you could do Western region championship, and then you would say that it was in Dallas, Texas, and that was in we'll say that was in 11th grade. So again, trying to get as much detail beyond the fact that, yes, it was the game of basketball into this description. So then easy breezy, you just click on all the grades that you have participated. When you do this, before you submit, you're going to know whether you're going to continue during your senior year. And then you want to tell the admissions office, is this something you do during the school year? Well, if it's, probably, but a lot of things you work on during break as well, especially athletics or your hobby. Those are things that you're doing maybe all year, because that's, if you're not conditioning, or if you're not doing, workouts or that kind of thing, you're not going to be as good. So you just click the appropriate boxes. Now, most of you know that this is the part that we sort of agonize over, right? So hours spent per week. The reason that these two boxes are crucial to whatever your activity is, admissions officers they need to understand what your level of commitment is with this particular activity. They need to understand if this is just kind of a throw off club that, you go for pizza once a month and it's no big deal. Kind of like the Fellowship of Christian Athletes. I mean, I respect the organization, but students, don't put that on your activity list. It doesn't move the needle for you at all. What they're looking for is, how involved are you in something? And that's going to be reflected in how many years you've participated, the length of time during the year, and then of course these hours. So for things like athletics, music, dance, hobbies, all of that, it's important. Oh, someone sent me a chat and they said that they have to go, so they left. Okay. So anyways, it's important to know that you want to include as many hours as possible. So it's not just your practice time. It's not just rehearsal. It's everything else. So you have games. You have to travel to the game. It's not just like in your park across the street or anything crazy like that. Like, you have to include the hours that you spend traveling to and from the game. If you do tournaments, there's so many hours involved at a tournament, because even if you're only playing a certain number of hours, you have to stay at the tournament. Often they're, out of area. And so you're just kind of stuck there. And the reason that all of that needs to be included is because any hours you spend doing basketball or all those other things I named, you're not studying for all of your courses, right? Because you're doing your activity. So that's another thing that's important. They want to see how you spend your time when you're not in class, when you're not doing homework, when you're not sleeping. So I really try to get students to think way outside of just, the weekly practice and maybe the games. So this might end up looking like 30 hours per week during peak season. And then, sometimes if you're an athlete or some performance, you're doing it all the weeks, except for a couple on Christmas. Maybe you get some time off over the summer, whatever. If you do an activity that's just the school year, August to May or June, when your high school gets out, go ahead and always put 40 weeks. That is a good number for, your average high school number of weeks. And that excludes, holidays and all sorts of stuff like that. And then this is very important as well. You want to tell the school, do I plan to participate in a similar activity? Notice it doesn't say exactly the same activity. So if you plan to be part of not necessarily the college's team, the recruited team, but you're part of intramurals or something like that, and you want to keep playing your sport, then you want to say yes. Or you want to keep doing musical theater, or you want to keep dancing, or whatever the case is, go ahead and put yes. And then what the common application allows you to do is enter up to 10 activities. So I'm going to go ahead and not input another one because we're going to move on. But there is basically there's the one activity. So Common App allows 10. The University of California application allows 20. And the Cal State application allows 0. You literally just tell them, do you spend this many hours on activities, or this many hours, or this many hours? You get 3 choices and they're just boxes. So the Cal State that's not a big part of the application, but for the UCs and anyone that takes a common application, it clearly is. So as far as the 10, you don't have to have 10, right? Again, what they're looking for is what are those activities that you've participated in, that you do or have done that are most important to you, because that's going to also tell them a little bit about what you value. So that's what our goal is too. We don't want to cram every little activity that you've ever done in high school here. We just want those that are critically important to you, that you're proud of participating in. Okay, so enough about activities. Okay, fun part. We're not going to clearly do any of this, but this is just a preview of the writing section. And the personal essay is required. That's something that we're going to start working on after you guys are all out in mid-June, after you're all done with your junior year. And so what the Common App does, it's kind of nice, right? It tells you of your universities that you've added who requires this personal essay. For example, if I had added Arizona State University, I believe they're in the not required side, but all these other universities are absolutely going to require it. So we're all going to do it just to cover all the bases. Then as you scroll down, you see the prompts, and the way that the personal statement works is the Common App gives you 7 prompts, and you choose one, and then you write your essay, responding to that prompt. So I'm not going to go through what those prompts are now, because we're going to have a whole, boot camp on that. But you write your essay. We'll get it all edited and polished in a Google Doc, right? And then you're going to copy it, and you're going to come over here and paste it after August 1st, when this is actually your senior year application. Then, since we're not putting anything there, we're going to just move on. Disciplinary history actually will not be here when this rolls over. This was one of the changes they made this year. They're no longer asking about students' disciplinary history. So if you had anything that you didn't want to share there, don't worry, because it's going away. Okay, COVID, yay. This will continue to be on your application. Probably be with us for a few years. But basically what the Common App did starting last year is it added these prompts, and it gives students a place to talk about the impact of COVID on their life. And what, this is the place to sort of air the mess that it was in your life, and how it impacted you. Did somebody in your family lose their job? Did somebody get sick with it? And that was, something you had to deal with. All of you did remote learning. Some of you are still doing remote learning, so it's, there's a lot to talk about. And so what they've done is they've given this space for students to talk about COVID, because what they don't want, my friends, is for you to use your personal statement to talk about COVID. Your personal statement has an entirely different purpose. Again, we'll cover that in a different session, but and we'll include this as well. But I just wanted to have you know that there will be a place for you to write, maybe 3-4 paragraphs on what COVID did and why it was just sort of a big pain in the backside. And then, maybe what you did to rally through it, or how you managed to get through it in one piece, hopefully. Okay, finally, courses and grades. So for whatever reason, some of our wonderful universities are going to make you copy your entire transcript blow by blow. And so what that will require us to do is to, by grade, go in and let's see, we got to add. Okay, so this is the courses and grade section. So it's not hard once I've walked you through it. It's just laborious and time consuming. So again, anything you can do now before it's time to start submitting your application is all good. But it's just kind of a bummer, I think, when schools ask for it, because they're also getting your transcript. So I've not heard a good explanation from an admissions office why they need it in both places, but whatever, it's their game. So we're going to play by their rules. So what we do is we're looking for the year that you were in 9th grade at your high school. And then you go through and you tell them that it was A through F scale, and whether it was semester, quarters, or whatever. I believe everybody is on the semester system. Okay, so then I recommend you follow the transcript. So whatever is first on your transcript, start there. Maybe you started with geometry in 9th grade. So interestingly, the subject is geometry and the course name is also going to be geometry. If I can spell. A difference would be if you took, let's do, here's a better example. Remember we did the one earlier. So the category, right, the subject is English, but what was the name of your 9th grade English course? Maybe it was British literature, or maybe it was just English 9, whatever. Again, whatever's on the transcript, those words, those abbreviations, that's what goes here. Then you get to tell them whether that was a regular, just, standard class, or you have other options. It could have been honors, right? The usual ones that I see in California are a regular standard, honors, IB for International Baccalaureate, or AP. So those are usually your choices, but you want to be sure that you get those in there because they're going to give you additional credit when they recalculate your GPA. Perhaps I just answered my own question about why some universities do this. All schools, all universities and colleges are going to recalculate your GPA. So even though we know how the UCs and the Cal States do it, we don't know how all the other universities do it. I have no idea how the University of Oregon does it. Sometimes they are willing to share that with us. Sometimes they're not. It depends on, who's in charge of admissions that year. But what they do is for the most part, they're going to look at your core courses, right? Your academic courses, your English, your math, your social studies, your science, your foreign language, and then, the UCs, for example, they include a visual and performing arts. They might include another class if it's a college prep level class, like AP Psych is a college prep class. So that would be something that we would add as we're putting in all these courses. But health, you know, student leadership like ASB. You know, sometimes you have to actually take a class to be in the gym, right? To do the weight room and all that kind of stuff. Conditioning class, that none of that is included in the GPA calculation. So anyways, that's a, you know, a very lengthy description of what's being captured here. Okay, so say for English 9, you know, received A's, and so you just click. S1 is first semester, S2 is second semester, and then your final grade is always what your second semester grade was. So these two should match. You might have got a B, or maybe got a B plus, you know, your first semester, but you got an A, right? You raised it up, and that means you ended the course with an A. That final grade is really important to the university. They're looking for those upward trends within the year. So that's a good example of how, you know, it would work for a student. Then again, semester credits. This is going to be information that you will find on your transcript. So usually it's 0.5 for your one semester, 0.5 for your second, and that adds up to 1.00. And again, this is coming straight from your transcript. So that's why having the transcript when we actually do this, you know, for real, is really important. And the other thing I wanted to tell you about these B's and A's, so it's kind of fun, sort of, I guess, that you have an option to put an A plus, you have an option to put an A minus, and maybe you're super stressed about that A minus. You are so bummed. And the reality is, don't sweat it. An A is an A is an A is an A. So you will get the same credit for that A as you will for that A, as you will for that A. So, you know, always do your best, you know, challenge yourself, so on and so forth, but don't make yourself crazy between an A minus and an A. What's important is this, the course level. That's where they're going to either give you an added point or not. Okay, so I'm just going to use that as one example of how we enter the courses in. And for those schools like the University of Oregon, University of Southern California, there's plenty that do want all of this detail. So you have to add it all in. Then after each grade, you tell them that you're good, and it takes you through all the other grades. And that, my friends, is the common application. Okay, so we've gone through, you know, the core entities. This is cool. They just added this last year, and you get a little preview. So you can see if this is not reading like your transcript, you know, you didn't do it correctly, and you need to go back and fix it. But that's really sweet. What else? Want to show you a couple more quick things about this resource. When we get to the point of we're actually, you know, getting close to submitting the application, you'll see that we have these drop-down menus for every university. And every university is asking their own questions. Under this set of questions is where you're going to have an opportunity to declare your major. So you can, you know, be undeclared, or you can, you know, say, I want to apply to, you know, I don't know, political science or business or whatever the case might be. So these are just questions that are very straightforward, that you'll be able to answer. And again, we go through these together. This is C. You put your major in and go from there. The first of many essays. This is kind of a tricky one. So some universities want you to tell them, why do you want to major and what you want to major? Well, we have to come up with a really intelligent and well-written answer. So this is also something we're going to be brainstorming, because a lot of universities want to know why you're choosing this major. So that will be day 2 of the essay boot camp, because we're going to have, I'm going to teach you how to basically draft, brainstorm, and then come up with your first draft. Activities is also an important section. Universities want to know that you are going to come and be involved. They are not excited about a student who is just going to, come and take classes. They want you to engage. And research shows that those students that do engage, especially the sooner the better, so right as freshmen, have a much higher graduation rate, a much higher GPA, and are so much happier going through their college education process than those that do not engage in any activities. So, you just tell them that you are going to do civic engagement. I always encourage students to pick at least 3, right? You want to be in an academic club. So if you're pre-law, you want to join the pre-law club. That's a no-brainer. Maybe you want to do the climbing club because you have never climbed more than the stairs in your house, but you want a boulder or whatever. So you're going to join the club. Do it. Put that down there. And then also, if you do musical theater, you do a sport, you do a dance, dancing, anything like that, that could be a third thing. Again, not that it's going to be your major, but it will be an activity that you participate on in when you're in college. It's very important to complete these and choose thoughtfully. So those will, these are going to be all cleared out, so we won't answer those now. When the application rolls over, this is all these sections will be wiped out, so there's no point in doing them now. A lot of universities allow you to upload your resume. They even allow you to give them links to your YouTube channel or to your Instagram page or to your LinkedIn profile. More and more and more universities are excited and giving students an opportunity to share those creative sides of themselves, where they've developed social media content that shows a part of who they are. So those are ways to kind of increase your cachet with the university. But all of you, we are working on inputting activities into that prompt platform, and that is actually going to create a beautiful, well-spaced, well laid out resume, and we can upload it when a university gives you the opportunity to do so. And that's great, because remember, back on the activities section, we had so little room to explain what if you had been doing, I don't know, last year I had like 3 cheerleaders, and they had been cheering since they were tiny. They've won national world championships, one of them had. And how do you explain that in 150 characters? Well, you don't. So that was a big part of this young woman's resume, all of the detail, and so it was great that we could upload it to be part of her application, because otherwise it just didn't come across. We couldn't get all that great information in there. And then you will always find additional supplemental questions. These are more opportunities for essays. I would say the vast majority of colleges now have one, sometimes much more. You know, the average is probably 3 supplemental essays. So the more colleges you have on this column, the more essays you're writing. And that's a big reason why I try to have you do your research before you get to this point, so that you've got the best college list, and it's a realistic list, in that, you know, if you're applying to 20 colleges, you're going to be writing what, 60 minimum 60 essays. Few people have time to do that well. So anyways, I love Chapman's YS essay. Out of the thousands of universities, why are you interested in attending Chapman? Very straightforward. But this is what we call a YS essay. Why Chapman? And that is also why I've been walking all of you through doing research on your universities, and then saving things like the mission statement, saving your curriculum, saving things, opportunities that this university has for you and your major within notes in your custom college plan, because that's the data that you're going to use to complete this essay, right? So you're going to be able to tell them exactly why you want to come to their university. And that solidly gives you a leg up beyond the competition that doesn't know how to write a YS essay. And unfortunately, very few people do. So yay, you. Okay, then they have some fun questions. What is your favorite subject? These are so hard because you have to be thoughtful. They're supposed to be fun, but they're reading everything. So, you know, you do have to be thoughtful about them. And that would be the end of that little tutorial about the colleges. Okay, we are getting about to the bitter end here. One of the really cool features of the Common App is this application requirements tab. And once you've added all of the colleges that you plan that accept the Common App, go here, and this will give you a lovely little bird's eye view of what the heck all of your schools are going to need, because one of the challenges is making sure that your application is fully complete, and until it's complete at the university, they're not going to review you for admission. It can really, again, be very detrimental if all of those pieces are not submitted in time for the first deadline date. So that's another reason I start this process so early with you, because the application is a small part. Then you have all the essays. That's a big part, important part, but just a part. Then you have to get those activities in there and get those polished. You're still doing some of those activities, right? And you've got to then get in all the schools, answer all their individual questions, write more essays. Once all of that is done, you need to make sure your letters of recommendation are lined up, right? So we have to work on those too. Then you have to request your transcript be sent from your counselor's office. So there's a lot of steps in this very detailed process. So what I like about this particular little spreadsheet is it tells you, okay, am I going to need my personal essay for the colleges on my list? So if a school, if this is unchecked, maybe I can submit them early and get them out of the way, kind of thing. It's going to tell you how much is it going to cost my parents to allow me to apply to all of these schools. And you can see that's just two, right? That's almost 100, that's what, $135 just for two. All the UCs are $70. All the Cal States are $70. So gets to add up in a hurry. Another reason I like you to get that list nice and short and sweet. Gives you deadlines over here. Then as you move right, you start to see things like, do they need supplemental information? So if you're applying to the architecture program, you know, do they need a portfolio? Test policy, SAT, all that kind of stuff. This is for international students. That doesn't apply to you. Over here, they're talking about the letters of recommendation. So CR is for counselor recommendation, and MR has to do with your academic teachers, right? So we'll talk more about that as the summer goes on. You can download this, and pretty great stuff. So now how do I get back out of there? I think I just leave it. Okay, I have covered a boatload of stuff, but that, my friends, is the Common App. So if you go back to that main one and you can see how many green check marks you have, that's how much further ahead you are of all of your friends. But anyways, it's just all good. It's all good to kind of get a couple of steps done. Our next big section is going to be to brainstorm those essays. So that will happen mid-June. I will come up with some dates and get them out to you. So be checking your emails as always from me. Try not to let those go too long because I'm setting up things like this. And just to reassure you with the essay boot camp, I'm going to walk you through exercises where and basically teach you the purpose of the different essays. And then we're going to do these exercises that sort of get your creative juices flowing. And you're going to come up with hopefully some, some good stories, and then do a brief outline by the end of our boot camp. But we will work one-on-one, right? Mano a mano for the essays. That's not something I do in a group. It's just not feasible. But at least you all get the same spiel about, what they're all about. Let's do some brainstorming and all that kind of stuff. And that can happen in a group. So, all right, guys, thank you for spending your Saturday morning with me. Really appreciate it. I think all of us are scheduled for our next meetings. If we are not, Satara, I know you and I need to schedule something, but Julia and Jonathan, I think we're good, right? So I will see you at that meeting. All right, have a great weekend.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, bye. All right, Missy.